This story follows a young woman named Nimue and the sword Excalibur, long before Arthur ever wears a crown. Nimue is beautiful, but in her land the word witch carries a heavy stain. As a daughter of the Fae, she lives under suspicion, judged by people who fear what they do not understand. One night her mother, Lunette, leads a clan ritual and receives a sign. Fate has chosen Nimue to become their next wielder of magic, the heir to lead her people. Nimue refuses the calling, panic rising, and she runs from the camp rather than accept a destiny she never asked for. So welcome to Cursed. Elsewhere, we meet Father Carden. After a calm chat with a young boy, his men burn the boy's village to the ground. Carden and his followers call themselves the Red Paladins, and they purge any place touched by magic. They are not the only threat. King Uther Pendragon rules with iron ambition, and Merlin, his famed sorcerer, is seen by the Fae as a traitor for hunting his own kind. Together, Uther, the Red Paladins, and Merlin drive a merciless campaign against witches. Trying to escape that fate, Nimue flees to Hawk's Bridge with her best friend Pym, hoping to catch a ship out. They arrive too late. The vessel has already left the dock. From a distance, she notices Arthur, a charming young man with a warm voice. They cross paths at a tavern, but an old gambler presses his luck and draws unwanted attention to Nimue. He loses his bet, his chair splinters beneath him, and in the confusion, her secret spills. Nimue bolts from the tavern, and nearby Red Paladins give chase, forcing her and Pym into the night. Meanwhile, Merlin visits a healer known for trading in enchanted curiosities. He buys the bodies of twin infants, a grim purchase that suggests a dark ritual, likely under orders from King Uther. Back in the forest, the Red Paladins close in on Nimue and Pym until Arthur appears and helps drive their pursuers off. After the danger passes, the three share what they know. In that moment, they become allies on the run. That night, Nimue and Arthur train together with the sword, but in the middle of their practice, Nimue's mind is suddenly overwhelmed, and she slips into a strange connection with Merlin's dreams. It raises a question that lingers in the air. What exactly ties Nimue and Merlin together? When morning comes, Nimue wakes early and leaves with Pym before Arthur even opens his eyes. She returns to her village, only to find it burned to ashes. Everything she once called home has been destroyed by the Red Paladins. She tries to help a young child escape, but Father Carden catches her. During a brief opening, Nimue manages to break free and runs to find her mother. With her last strength, Lunette gives Nimue a sacred sword, entrusting her to keep it safe and out of enemy hands. But before they can flee, one of the Red Paladins slays Lunette in front of her. Go! Meanwhile, King Uther and his court experience terrifying magical disturbances. No one knows the source. Even Merlin senses something is deeply wrong. On her escape, Nimue is surrounded by wolves in the forest. With nothing but the inherited sword, she fights them off one by one. The blade seems to awaken something inside her. To understand Nimue's power, we look back to her childhood. She often heard mysterious whispers. As a Fae descendant, she carried abilities far beyond ordinary humans. Once, when threatened by a massive bear, her magic burst forth on instinct, defeating the creature without even laying a hand on it. Back in the present, it is revealed that the magical chaos in the king's castle was not caused by the Fae, but by Merlin's own failed experiment. King Uther orders his capture, but Merlin narrowly escapes. While Uther has Merlin, the Red Paladins have their own weapon, a deadly warrior known as the Weeping Monk, feared for hunting and killing any Fae he encounters. Their main target now is Nimue. The young boy who once spoke with Nimue during the attack is named Squirrel. The Weeping Monk tracks him down easily. At the same time, Nimue attempts to enter Hawk's Bridge, but the gates are heavily guarded. She signals an old wanderer to help her. He pretends to be a traveling dentist, with Nimue as his patient. The guards stop them and insist the tooth causing her pain must be pulled immediately. Nimue has no choice but to endure it to maintain her cover. Elsewhere, some villagers who survived Nimue's burned homeland try to rescue Squirrel, but the Weeping Monk defeats them effortlessly. After killing them, he releases Squirrel just to spread fear, warning him to tell everyone what is coming. Inside Hawk's Bridge, Nimue crosses paths with Arthur again, but trouble follows. The old gambler from before, Bors reappears with revenge in his eyes. He tries to steal Lunette's sword, but Nimue stands her ground and makes him regret ever crossing her. After escaping Hawk's Bridge, Nimue and Arthur rest deep in the forest. Arthur examines the sword in her hands, fascinated by its weight and craftsmanship. He even offers her 500 gold coins for it, but Nimue refuses. The blade was her mother's final wish, meant to be delivered directly to Merlin. She may not know the exact reason, but she knows this responsibility is hers alone. She must find Merlin, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Merlin returns to the last place Lunette stood alive. He mourns her loss, then releases his grief in a lonely cemetery. There a mysterious woman dressed in black appears. She is known as the Widow. From their exchange, it becomes clear. The sword Excalibur is desired by many. Everyone wants its power. Later that night, as Nimue sleeps, Arthur betrays her. He steals the sword and disappears into the darkness. When Nimue wakes, she finds herself inside a convent. The sword is gone. Arthur is gone. Panic and confusion wash over her. That same day, the convent receives visitors. The Red Paladins arrive, including Father Carden, who brings a wounded soldier harmed by Nimue's magic. If they discover she is here, she will be executed on the spot. Nimue attempts to hide, but a young nun catches her. Thankfully, this nun, named Igraine, chooses to protect her secret instead of expose her. She even helps Nimue blend in as a new member of the convent. Nimue changes clothes and tries to remain invisible by helping tend to the injured, but she accidentally overhears Father Carden speaking to his followers. The Red Paladins believe the Fae have been watching the kingdom for years, and they are desperate to obtain Excalibur. Whoever holds the sword will hold the power to rule the world. Among the visitors is the Weeping Monk. His instincts are sharp, and he senses something is off. He realizes a Fae is hiding in the convent. He informs Father Carden at once. The hunt for Nimue begins. Arthur travels to the royal estate to meet King Ector, a place that once belonged to his own parents. He hopes to gain support to enter an important tournament, something his father wanted for him. When they meet, Arthur learns that Ector is actually a distant relative. Even so, Ector refuses to sponsor him. A short while later, Ector brings Arthur to a nearby tavern. By chance, Bors is there as well. He is furious with Arthur for helping Nimue escape before, and the tension rises quickly. Meanwhile, back at the convent, a full inspection begins. Every nun is gathered in the main hall while the Weeping Monk searches for any sign of Nimue. He does not find her at first, and things would have remained calm if not for a single nun secretly informing Father Carden of Nimue's hiding place. Nimue is actually still in the infirmary, not with the others. Father Carden sends his men to search that area. Fortunately, Igraine manages to sneak Nimue out just in time. Elsewhere, Arthur's luck takes a turn. The Red Paladins capture him and seize the Excalibur sword. To protect Nimue, Igraine goes to an extreme. She strikes her own head against a pillar so the Paladins will believe she was attacked by Nimue during her escape. The ruse works, and Father Carden leaves the convent. Nimue, now safe for the moment, stops by a riverside to clean herself. There she encounters a man named Disye. He recognizes that she is being hunted, but instead of turning her in, he offers help. Arthur, however, is still a prisoner. The sword remains in the hands of the Red Paladins. We shift briefly to Merlin. Despite his power, he has a reckless streak. He travels to the domain of King Rugen, pretending to be an ally. In truth, he is there to steal the Eternal Flame, a mystical source of Fey magic. The flame and Excalibur are connected, though that connection is not yet fully clear. Back with Nimue, Disye attempts to smuggle her through a checkpoint by claiming she is his wife. The guard believes the story, though both of them are trembling with fear. After passing safely, Disye leaves Nimue in the forest and continues on his way. Meanwhile, Arthur manages to loosen the ropes binding his hands. He distracts the guards with casual chatter, then slips away and escapes from the moving cart. Nimue eventually enters a nearby village, where she unexpectedly reunites with Arthur. He explains everything, including how he lost the sword. Nimue forgives him, and together they return to the forest to track down the cart carrying Excalibur. While searching, they discover Disye's wagon instead. The kind-hearted man and his family have been slaughtered by the Red Paladins. Overcome by grief and anger, Nimue hears the faint guidance of unseen voices. She follows the whispers to a riverbank, where the Red Paladins are bathing and resting. The sword is stored in their cart. Nimue does not hesitate. She strikes swiftly, cutting down the Paladins one by one. Later that night, while the world sleeps, Merlin makes his move. He slips into the sacred vault of the Fae and steals their eternal flame. The theft succeeds, but he is spotted as he escapes. Guards loyal to King Rugen race after him, ready to cut him down for the betrayal. Back on the road, the only survivor from Dizier's family is his young daughter. Nimue and Arthur take the girl with them and bring her to a Fey refugee camp hidden deep in the wilderness. For now, it becomes their shelter. To Nimue's surprise, someone familiar is already there. Igraine, the nun who once saved her inside the convent. Nimue explains everything, from the sword to her connection with Merlin. Igraine agrees to help her find him. Meanwhile, Merlin is stopped by the king's soldiers. He is to be arrested for treason. Igraine writes a letter and gives it to Nimue, a message meant for Merlin. The letter states that whoever can bring peace between humans and the Fae deserves to wield Excalibur. Igraine then takes Nimue to meet Yeva, an elder sorceress. Yeva is the only one who can bridge the distance between Nimue and Merlin. The next day becomes a turning point. Merlin is moments away from execution when a falcon lands beside the king, carrying Yeva's message. The promise of obtaining Excalibur tempts King Uther. He cancels the execution instantly. If peace can be made, the sword will be granted. Back at the camp, a celebration is held. Rumors spread that the Green Knight is coming. The Fae gather to welcome him. Before he arrives, Nimue spots Squirrel among the crowd, still alive. Moments later, the Green Knight appears. His real name is Gawain, an old friend of Nimue. They embrace warmly after years apart, and she introduces him to Arthur. Nimue tells Gawain about her mission and the sword. Gawain is stunned. He cannot understand why Lunette would entrust Excalibur to Merlin, a man the Fae consider a traitor. As they talk, Igraine bursts in with devastating news. The convent where she once lived has been destroyed by the Red Paladins. And now we learn something even more important. Igraine is not just a nun, she is Arthur's sister. Following Igraine's guidance, Nimue returns to Yeva. This time, the ritual is different. Yeva sends Nimue's spirit out of her body, carrying her into another realm where she finally meets Merlin face to face. Nimue explains her mother's dying wish, and in that moment, a hidden truth is revealed. Nimue is Merlin's daughter. The next day, Nimue prepares to set out in search of Merlin in the physical world. Arthur and Gawain volunteer to go with her, but she refuses. Instead, she chooses Kaze and Igraine as her companions. At the same time, King Uther grants Merlin temporary freedom so that he can retrieve Excalibur and return it to the kingdom. Not long into her journey, Nimue finally meets Merlin in person. He brings her into a shared vision of the past, showing the first time he met Lunette. In that memory, Excalibur is pulled from Merlin's own body. Over time, Merlin and Lunette grew close, even though Lunette had been promised to another man she did not love. Their bond became a forbidden love, and Lunette eventually became pregnant with Nimue. When the vision ends, Merlin teaches Nimue how to control the magic inside her. For the first time, her power feels steady. She can even make fruits sprout from barren branches. But when it comes to the sword, Merlin refuses to take it back. Excalibur carries a darkness. It shapes the heart of whoever holds it, twisting their emotions and pulling them toward cruelty. Nimue's curiosity grows, and she secretly uses a sacred charm to glimpse Merlin's past on her own. What she sees shocks her. Merlin was once a ruthless killer who hunted the weak alongside violent companions. When he wakes and finds the sword aimed at him, he explains that he is no longer that person. He has spent years trying to atone. Before they can resolve anything, King Uther's soldiers arrive. They are here to seize Nimue and claim the sword. She believes Merlin betrayed her, though in truth it is a tragic misunderstanding. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Arthur, Gawain, and another ally are ambushed by the Weeping Monk. A fierce battle erupts. Merlin is captured by the king's soldiers, but as always, he finds a way to escape. Elsewhere, Nimue and her companions hide inside a dark cave. She remembers Merlin's warning, the sword corrupts the heart. Overwhelmed by guilt, she throws Excalibur away into the shadows. The weight of that choice crushes her instantly. At the same time, Arthur, the Green Knight, and others are trapped inside a fortified building. One of their men is taken hostage by the enemy and killed with an arrow. The Weeping Monk demands Arthur and Gawain surrender. When they refuse, the building is set ablaze with flaming arrows. Kazi brings news that the sword has been recovered, but Nimue refuses to leave the cave. Arthur and Gawain's shelter is now engulfed in flames. They have no choice but to break out and face the Red Paladins head-on. A brutal battle unfolds. Just when the fight seems hopeless, a swirling black storm tears across the battlefield. It is not weather. It is the power of Excalibur, unleashed by Nimue. With the tide turned, Nimue, Arthur, and Gawain return to the Fey camp. Nimue speaks to everyone gathered, urging them to unite and stand against the tyranny of the ruling kings. The people agree. Their only hope is to leave this land behind. Gawain introduces Nimue to Druna, who will guide the Fey either by boat or by secret paths on foot, whichever becomes necessary for their escape. Meanwhile, Merlin travels to the territory of Cumber, a bearded warlord who leads the Germanic clan. Merlin hopes to convince Cumber to join him in overthrowing King Uther. During the meal, Merlin realizes that Father Carden is also present in the camp. Back with Nimue, she enters a village heavily guarded by Red Paladins. She uses her magic to strike down a few soldiers, then challenges one of them to a one-on-one duel. At first she is overwhelmed, but she calls upon Excalibur and manages to defeat him. The strain is too much and she collapses. Her allies are already positioned with bows. They rain arrows on the remaining Red Paladins and drive them out of the village. The Fey move in to claim it as their temporary home. Arthur tends to Nimue until she wakes. Soon after, Nimue meets Pym again. Pym begs her to save her lover, Doff, but his life cannot be saved. Nimue must give her the painful truth. The village they now occupy is under King Ector's authority. Nimue meets him to express gratitude for the refuge. Although King Ector is not pleased to shelter the Fey, he has little choice. His lands are under Red Paladin pressure, and Nimue now carries the power of Excalibur. Out of caution and respect, he acknowledges her as the Queen of the Fey. Elsewhere in Cumber's forest territory, Merlin encounters the widow. She appears in Nimue's form and warns that Nimue is in danger. Furious, Merlin storms to confront Cumber, believing he has a role in plotting against her. Merlin offers Cumber a deal. If Cumber calls off any plans to harm Nimue, he will be rewarded with Excalibur. The sword is not just a weapon now, it is a bargaining chip. Deep in the forest, the Green Knight crosses paths with the Weeping Monk. There is no avoiding what comes next. Steel meets steel, and the clash is fierce. But in the end, the Green Knight falls. Word of his defeat reaches Nimue quickly, and she understands what it means. Their settlement will soon be under attack. Meanwhile, Merlin rides toward Cumber's camp on horseback. Suddenly, an arrow strikes him in the chest. The attacker works for King Rugen, seeking revenge for the stolen eternal flame. But Merlin is far from helpless. He turns the situation around in an instant, deceiving and killing the assassin without hesitation. Merlin arrives at the Fey camp, and Nimue gathers her companions. She reveals the truth to everyone. Merlin is her father. The others are stunned, and though Nimue still feels betrayed by what happened before, she learns it was never Merlin's plan. King Uther had acted behind his back, sending soldiers to capture her without Merlin's knowledge. Merlin explains why he came. He wants Nimue to give the sword to Cumber. Only Cumber, he claims, has enough power to protect her from Uther. But Arthur and Igraine warn Nimue not to trust this offer. They believe it is a trap. Nimue listens to their advice and declines. She sends Merlin to rest in the keep as an honored guest, though uncertainty lingers between them. Elsewhere, Gawain has been taken to the Red Paladin stronghold by the Weeping Monk. Father Carden meets with him, curious and suspicious. Gawain claims to know many secrets about Nimue, but it quickly becomes clear he is not betraying her. He is buying time. In the prison tent, the Weeping Monk enters, bruised and silent. He and Gawain recognize each other as men of the same tribe. Gawain urges him to come home, to turn his back on the Red Paladins and return to his people. The Weeping Monk cannot answer. His loyalty is tangled in debt and guilt. Instead, the two share a quiet prayer, wishing each other safety in whatever comes next. Back at the stronghold, Nimue meets with Merlin and asks for guidance regarding King Uther's offer. Merlin tells her there is only one real choice. He urges her to save herself rather than her people. In his eyes, the age of the Fae has ended, and this is now a world ruled by humans. Better for the Fae to fall, he says, than for Nimue to die. His words reveal something true about him. He is a father desperate to protect his child, and it becomes clear that Nimue, too, is not fully Fae. She is half human. Meanwhile, Squirrel has secretly followed the Green Knight to the Red Paladin camp. He tries to free Gawain, but Gawain tells him that his body is already broken and escape would be pointless. Instead, he blesses Squirrel, declaring him a knight in spirit, and urges him to run. Before the boy can flee, the Red Paladins catch him. Squirrel is brought before Father Carden to be punished. The Weeping Monk steps in, insisting the child is too young to harm. His defiance embarrasses Father Carden, who strikes him across the face. Back at the kingdom, King Uther confirms that he will provide ships to evacuate the Fae. But in secret, Father Carden has reached out to Cumber's son to carry out the massacre. The Germanic troops agree to join the attack. At Nimue's camp, a familiar face has been hiding among them. The nun who once exposed Nimue's identity in the convent, Sister Iris. She has not changed. She remains a traitor. Merlin and Nimue speak again. This time he offers himself as a sacrifice. He tells her he has long known that Uther wishes to kill him. If his death can protect her, he is willing to accept it. While this happens, Arthur meets with the Tusks clan, a group who once had reason to hate him. He offers his own blood as a gesture of repayment, asking them to stand beside the Fae in battle. The clan leader agrees. At the same time, the widow begins to spread terror once more. She once served Merlin, but now acts against him. Igraine becomes her target. Nimue arrives in time, ordering Igraine to leave the camp immediately and to take Excalibur far away from danger. Elsewhere, Father Carden and the Weeping Monk speak privately. Here the truth is revealed. The Weeping Monk is not merely a warrior. He carries demonic blood, and Father Carden has kept him as a hunting hound, using him to track and kill the Fae. The Weeping Monk wants to break free, but his loyalty is bound by years of debt and control. Merlin goes to surrender himself to King Uther, and the king does not hesitate. He has always wanted Merlin dead. Meanwhile, Arthur leads the Tusks clan warriors as they escort the Fae toward the coastline, where the ships await. Back in the refugee camp, Sister Iris tries once again to kill Nimue. A guard interrupts just in time, delivering news from Arthur. King Uther has honored his promise. The ships are prepared. Nimue immediately departs to meet him. Elsewhere, the widow disguises herself as someone Igraine once loved, trying to manipulate her into surrendering the sword. But Igraine holds firm. Her true name is Morgana, and her resolve is stronger than the illusion before her. Nimue meets with King Uther once again. This time she does not simply ask for ships. She demands the release of two prisoners, Gawain and Squirrel. Only after they are freed will she hand over Excalibur. King Uther does not reject the request outright. He tells her he will consider it carefully. But as the Fae begin to evacuate, the situation spirals. Cumber's forces ambush them on the shoreline, turning the escape into a brutal battle. Many lives are lost. At the same time, the Red Paladins grow furious with King Uther. They cannot accept that he is negotiating with the girl they swore to destroy. They announce that they will no longer follow him. From now on, they will act alone and eliminate anyone in their way. Meanwhile, the Weeping Monk makes a choice. He saves Squirrel and kills the Red Paladins guarding him. It is his first step toward redemption. Gawain, however, is brought to Nimue too late. The brave Green Knight is already gone. His death unleashes a wave of grief and fury inside Nimue, awakening a power she had kept buried. As the Red Paladins and their allies storm King Uther's camp, Gawain's body transforms into living vines, a final farewell shaped by Nimue's magic. In the chaos, the Weeping Monk stands alone, fighting off soldiers from every direction. Nimue, exhausted and drained from her magic, is captured. Just as she is about to be executed, Igraine intervenes. She reveals that the widow is gone and that she herself has become the new bearer of that mantle. Nimue is reunited with Merlin, who is still alive. Elsewhere, Arthur and the Fae win the battle at the shoreline, supported by reinforcements from the Red Spear warriors. Believing the danger has passed, Nimue, Merlin, and Igraine retreat to a place they think is safe. But it is here that everything changes. Sister Iris appears from the shadows, draws her bow, and sends an arrow straight into Nimue's chest. Nimue falls from the cliff's edge and disappears below. In that moment, Merlin is overwhelmed with rage. The air trembles. His power erupts without restraint, unleashing a devastating wave of magic that destroys everything around him. So the moral of the story is, if someone hands you a legendary magic sword, maybe don't leave it unattended with a dude you just met, or you'll wake up swordless and confused in a convent.